Don't translate the text, just listen. Let your brain get used to the sound and rhythm. Then listen and repeat out loud. It's the best way to learn to recognize English easily, even when it's fast and long. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Chapter 15. The Future Mrs. Rochester. So I set out on the long journey back to Thornfield. Mrs. Fairfax had written to me while I was at Gateshead, telling me that the guests had all gone and Mr. Rochester had gone to London to buy a carriage for his wedding. It was clear that he would be getting married very soon. After a long day sitting in the coach, I decided to get out at Millcote, leave my luggage at the hotel, and walk across the fields to Thornfield. It was a warm June evening, and I felt glad to be going home. I had to remind myself sternly that Thornfield was not my permanent home, and that the person I was so looking forward to seeing was perhaps not even thinking of me. And then I saw him. He was sitting on the gate ahead of me, writing in a notebook. He noticed me at once. "Hello!" he cried. I was trembling at the unexpected sight of him and could not control my voice, so I approached in silence. "So, it's Jane Eyre," he continued. "Why didn't you send for a carriage? It's just like you to come on foot from Millcote. Now, what have you been doing for a whole month?" "I've been looking after my aunt, sir, who's just died." "You come from another world, Jane, from the world of the dead. I think you must be a spirit, and absent for a whole month. I'm sure you've quite forgotten me." Even though I knew I would soon lose him, he had such power to make me happy that I was in heaven listening to him. "Did Mrs. Fairfax tell you I've been to London?" he asked. "Oh, yes, sir, she did. And I expect she told you why I went there." "Well, you must see the carriage I've bought, Jane. It will suit Mrs. Rochester perfectly. I only wish I were more handsome, as she's so beautiful. Can't you put one of your spells on me to make me more attractive for her?" "That's beyond the power of magic, sir," I replied, while thinking, to someone who loves you, you are handsome enough. Mr. Rochester was sometimes able to read my thoughts, but this time he just smiled warmly at me and opened the gate. "Pass, friend," he said, "and welcome home." I could have just walked past him in silence, but something made me turn and say quickly, before I could stop myself, "Thank you, Mr. Rochester, for your great kindness. I'm glad to come back to you. And wherever you are is my home, my only home." I ran across the field and into the house before he had time to answer. 2 weeks passed after my return, with no news of the wedding. There were no preparations at Thornfield, and no visits to the Ingram family, who lived only a few miles away. I almost began to hope. It was the middle of summer, and every day the sun shone on the green fields, the white-baked roads, and the cool, dark woods. One evening, after Adele had gone to sleep, I went into the garden. I discovered a quiet place where I thought nobody would find me. But then I noticed Mr. Rochester had come into the garden too. Hoping to escape back to the house, I crept quietly behind him while he was bending over to admire an insect, but... "Jane," he said suddenly, "come and look at this beautiful insect." Oh, now he's flown away. No, don't go back to the house, Jane, on such a lovely night. Come and walk with me. I could not find a reason for leaving him, so I accompanied him in silence. "Jane," he began, "you like Thornfield, don't you? And you even like little Adele and old Mrs. Fairfax, don't you?" "I do, sir. I really don't want to leave them." "What a pity," he sighed. "That's what happens in life. No sooner have you got used to a place than you have to move on." "Do I have to move on, sir? Leave Thornfield?" "I'm afraid you must, Jane." "Then you are going to be married, sir?" "Exactly, Jane, and as you have pointed out, when I take the lovely Miss Ingram as my bride, you and Adele must leave the house. So I'm looking for a new job for you." "I'm sorry to cause you trouble," I said miserably. "No trouble at all. In fact, I've already heard of a very good job which would be just right for you. Teaching the 5 daughters of an Irish family. You'll like Ireland, I think. They're such friendly people," he said cheerfully. "It's such a long way away, sir." I was fighting to keep my tears back. There was an icy coldness in my heart. "Away from what, Jane?" "From England and from Thornfield and—" "Well?" "From you, sir." I could not stop myself and burst into tears immediately. "It certainly is very far away," he said calmly. "Let's sit on this bench, Jane, like old friends saying goodbye. You know, I sometimes feel as if you and I were connected by a string, tying our 2 hearts together, and if you went to Ireland, I think that string might break and I might bleed to death." I wish I'd never been born," I cried. "I wish I'd never come to Thornfield." No longer able to control my feelings, I poured out what was in my heart. "I can't bear to leave, because here I've been treated kindly. And because I've met you, Mr. Rochester, and I can't bear never to see you again. Now I have to leave, I feel as if I'm dying." "Why do you have to leave?" he asked innocently. "Why?" I repeated, amazed. "Because you're marrying Miss Ingram. She's your bride." "My bride? I have no bride." "But I will have one, and you must stay." "I can't stay," I cried furiously. "Do you think I'm a machine without feelings? Do you think because I'm small and poor and plain that I have no soul and no heart? Well, you're wrong. I have as much soul and heart as you. It is my spirit that speaks to your spirit. We are equal in the sight of God." "We are," repeated Mr. Rochester, taking me in his arms and kissing me. "Don't struggle, Jane. like a wild, restless bird. "Let me go, Mr. Rochester. I am no bird, but a free human being." And I managed to break away. "Yes, Jane, you are free to decide. I ask you to walk through life with me, to be my constant companion." "You're laughing at me. You've already chosen your companion for life." I was crying quietly, while Mr. Rochester looked gently and seriously at me. "Jane," he said, "I ask you to be my wife. You are my equal, Jane. Will you marry me?" "Don't you believe me?" "Not at all," I answered. "I'll convince you. Listen, I don't love Miss Ingram, and she doesn't love me. She only liked me for my wealth. And when I, disguised as the gypsy woman, told her that I had only a little money, she and her mother lost interest in me. You strange magical spirit, I love you. You small and poor and plain, I ask you to marry me." "You want to marry me?" I cried, almost beginning to believe him. "But I have no friends, no money, no family." "I don't care, Jane. Say yes, quickly. It's cruel to make me suffer like this. Give me my name. Say, Edward, I'll marry you," he cried, his face very pale in the moonlight. "Are you serious? Do you really love me? Do you honestly want me to be your wife?" I asked. "I swear it." "Then, Edward, I will marry you, my little wife." He held me in his arms for a long time, kissing me gently. Once he murmured, "No family, that's good. No family to interfere." And then, "I don't care what people think." And again, "Are you happy, Jane?" I thought of nothing except great happiness of being with him forever. But while we were talking, the weather had changed. A strong wind was now blowing, and there was a loud crack of thunder. Suddenly, rain poured down, and although we hurried back to the house, we were quite wet when we arrived in the hall. We did not notice Mrs. Fairfax standing in the shadows. "Good night, my darling," he said, kissing me repeatedly. As I ran upstairs, I caught sight of the old lady's shocked face. "Tomorrow I'll explain to her," I thought. Just then I was too happy to think about anything except our bright future. Outside, the storm continued furiously all night. And in the morning we discovered that the great tree at the bottom of the garden, which had stood for hundreds of years, had been hit by lightning and torn in half. Chapter 16. Preparing for the wedding. I was a little nervous before seeing Mr. Rochester next morning. Was I really going to marry him, or was it all a dream? But I soon felt calmer when he came to meet me and kissed me. "Jane, you look well and smiling and pretty," he said. "You will be Jane Rochester in 4 weeks' time, not a day more. I'll send for my family jewels, which are kept in a London bank. They are for my bride, whether she's a great lady or a governess." "Oh, no, sir," I cried. "I'm too plain for jewels. I'm not used to wearing them." "I insist, Jane. Today I'm taking you in the carriage to Millcote to buy you some elegant clothes. In a month's time, we'll have a quiet wedding in the local church, and after a few days in London, we'll travel through all the countries of Europe." "Well, sir, you seem very eager to please me. But I wonder if you will agree to a request of mine. Ask me anything, Jane, anything." "Indeed I will. This is my request. I ask you not to give me jewels and fine clothes." "If that's really your wish, I agree." "But can't you think of anything else I can give you?" "Well, I'd like you to give me the answer to a question." He looked worried and turned away from me. "Curiosity is dangerous," he said. "I may not be able to agree to this particular request." "Well, what is it?" "How stern you look. I suppose that's how you will look when we are married. This is what I want to know. Why did you take such trouble to make me believe you wished to marry Miss Ingram?" He stopped frowning at once and smiled down at me. "Is that all? What a relief! All right, I shall have to confess, although you may be angry with me, Jane, as angry as you were last night when you told me we were equal. Well, I pretended to love Miss Ingram to make you madly jealous. I wanted you to be as much in love with me as I was with you. And I suppose you didn't care at all about poor Miss Ingram's feelings. She only has one feeling, pride. Were you jealous, Jane? Never mind, Mr. Rochester. One more request. Please explain everything to Mrs. Fairfax. She looked so shocked last night." When I visited the old housekeeper later that day, I found she was amazed by the news that I was going to marry the master. "I would never have thought it," she kept repeating. "Mr. Rochester, so proud and such a gentleman, to marry his governess." She examined me closely, as if to discover the reason for this strange event, and shook her head, still puzzled. "He's 20 years older than you. He could be your father." "No, indeed, Mrs. Fairfax," I replied crossly. "He looks much younger than that." "Is he really going to marry you for love?" she asked. I was so hurt by her amazement that tears came to my eyes. "Why?" I asked. "Do you think he couldn't possibly love me?" "No, no, Miss Eyre, but you must realize that this is a very unusual situation. You must be careful of your reputation. I advise you to keep him at a distance until you are married." Although I was upset by the old lady's words, I followed her advice. And in the weeks before the wedding, I went on teaching Adele as usual. Only in the evenings did I spend time with Mr. Rochester, and I was careful not to allow him to hold me in his arms or kiss me. Sometimes he was angry with me and called me a hard little thing or a cruel spirit, but I preferred that to being called my darling. I saw that Mrs. Fairfax approved of my correct behavior, and I knew that he respected me for it. But it was not easy for me. I would rather have shown him my love. My future husband was becoming my whole world, and more than that, my hope of heaven. At last, the night before the wedding arrived. My clothes were packed and I was ready. But I was anxious to see Mr. Rochester, who had been away on business, so I ran out of the quiet house to meet him on the road. A wild, stormy wind was blowing, and in the garden I passed the wreck of the great tree. Then suddenly I saw him riding towards me. "You see," he shouted, "you can't do without me. Jump up onto my horse." Together we rode back to Thornfield. While he ate dinner, I sat quietly beside him. He looked closely at me. "You look sad, Jane," he said. "Is anything wrong? Are you nervous about your new life?" "No," I replied firmly. "I'm not worried about that, because I love you. But last night I had a strange dream, a terrible dream. It was dark and windy outside, and before I went to sleep, I could hear a dog growling in the distance. In my dream, I was carrying a small child in my arms down a long road. I was trying to catch up with you, but I couldn't. And you still worry about a foolish dream when I'm close to you? But say you love me again, Jane. I do love you, Edward. But I haven't finished my story. Is there more? Well, go on. I dreamed that Thornfield was totally destroyed, just a heap of stones. I was still carrying the child, but now I could see you riding away into the distance. I knew you would never come back. Then I woke up. That's all then, Jane. Nothing to worry about. No, wait. There was candlelight in my room, and a strange shape examining the wedding dress hanging in my cupboard. My blood ran cold. It wasn't Mrs. Fairfax or any of the servants. It wasn't even Grace Poole. It was a horrible sight. Describe the shape, Jane. It looked like a tall woman with long, thick, dark hair hanging down. She took up the beautiful veil you bought me, put it on her own head, then turned to admire herself in the mirror. It was then that I saw her wild, inhuman face. She removed the veil, tore it in two, and threw it on the floor. And then, Mr. Rochester seemed almost nervous. She came to my bedside, put her candle close to my face, and stared fiercely at me. I must have fainted, and I suppose she left. Now can you tell me who or what that woman was? Jane, you are too sensitive. That was just a dream. Don't think about it any more, he answered comfortingly. That's just what I said to myself when I woke up this morning. But when I looked on the floor, there was the veil torn in two halves. I felt Mr. Rochester suddenly tremble. To think what might have happened, he cried, throwing his arms around me. Thank God it was only the veil. After a few moments, he said calmly, Now, Jane, be sensible. That woman must have been Grace Poole. There is no other explanation. Perhaps you're right, I admitted slowly. One day, I'll explain to you why I keep her in my house. But tonight, go and sleep in Adele's room. You'll be quite safe there. Just dream about our future. Chapter 17. The Wedding Day. We had no friends or family to accompany us to the church. I had not told my Reed cousins about our wedding, but I had written to my uncle, John Eyre, in Madeira. Mr. Rochester was in such a hurry that he only allowed me a short time to put on my wedding dress and veil. "Jane, you look lovely," he said, "but you can only have 10 minutes for breakfast." We almost ran up the road to the church, his strong hand holding mine. His dark face looked stern, and he did not speak. I did not notice the weather or my surroundings at all. I only wanted to know why he looked so fierce. Suddenly, he noticed how pale I was, and stopped for a moment to let me get my breath back. Then we walked more slowly into the church. The priest and the clerk were waiting for us. There was nobody else except 2 strangers who were standing at the back of the church. The ceremony began, and soon I heard the priest come to the point in the wedding where he had to ask, "Is there any reason why these 2 people should not be married?" The priest paused for a second, as was the custom, but before he could continue, a voice from the back of the church said, "There is a reason." The priest looked up from his book and stood silent. Mr. Rochester said in his deep voice, without turning his head, "Continue with the ceremony." Silence fell again. Then the priest shook his head. He said, "I must investigate this first." One of the strangers from the back of the church came forward and said, calmly and quietly, "This wedding cannot continue because Mr. Rochester is already married." I felt as if I had been hit. Mr. Rochester's whole face was like colorless marble. Without speaking or smiling, he was holding me tightly round the waist as if he would never let go. "Who are you?" he growled at the stranger. "And tell me what you know of this supposed wife of mine." "I'm a lawyer, sir. I have a certificate here proving that you married Bertha Mason in the West Indies 15 years ago." "That may prove I've been married, but it doesn't prove that she's still alive." "I can produce a witness," said the lawyer, "who has seen her alive recently." "Produce him or go to hell," said Mr. Rochester. "Here he is, Mr. Mason," called the lawyer. And the second stranger slowly approached from the shadows, his pale face looking frightened. Mr. Rochester, staring furiously at him, raised his strong right arm to knock him down. "No!" cried Mason, trembling. Mr. Rochester dropped his arm and turned away in disgust. "Sir," said the priest, frowning, "don't forget we are in the house of God. Mr. Mason, please tell us if this gentleman's wife is still alive." "She's at Thornfield Hall," replied Mason in a weak voice. "I'm her brother, and I've seen her there." "Thornfield Hall?" cried the priest. I've lived here for years, and I've never heard of a Mrs. Rochester." "I was careful to keep her a secret," murmured Mr. Rochester, frowning. After a few minutes' thought, he announced, "I must reveal the truth, I suppose. There will be no wedding today. No doubt God will punish me for this. What this lawyer says is true. I've been married, and my wife still lives. I was tricked into marrying her when I was young in the West Indies. Madness runs in her family, but they didn't tell me that. Now she's more of an animal than a woman. I keep her locked away, guarded by my old servant, Grace Poole. I invite you all to come to my house to see her, and to judge whether I had the right to ask this innocent young girl to marry me. Follow me." Still holding me firmly, he left the church, followed by the others. At the door of Thornfield Hall, Mrs. Fairfax, Adele, and the servants rushed forward, smiling, to congratulate us. "Too late," cried the master, waving them away. "Your congratulations are 15 years too late." We all went up to the top floor and entered the room where Mason had been attacked. Mr. Rochester lifted the curtain, opened the secret door, and showed us the little room. Grace Poole was making soup over a fire, and behind her a shape crawled on the floor. It was hard to say whether it was animal or human. It growled like a wild animal, but it wore clothes and had long, thick, dark hair. "How are you, Mrs. Poole?" asked the master. "And how is your patient today?" "Not bad, sir," answered Grace. "But be careful. She'll try and bite you if she sees you, sir." Just then the shape turned and with a fierce cry attacked Mr. Rochester violently. I recognized her dark, ugly face. They struggled for a moment, and then he held her down and, with Mrs. Poole's help, tied her to a chair. He turned to the others with a bitter smile. "You see, gentlemen, this is my wife. This is the partner I have to live with forever. And instead, I wish to have this," laying his hand on my shoulder. "This young girl. Can you honestly blame me? Compare the two and then judge me." We all left the room silently. As we went downstairs, the lawyer said to me, "I know you weren't aware of this, Miss Eyre. Nobody will blame you, and Mr. Mason will tell your uncle so when he goes back to Madeira." "My uncle? Do you know him?" I asked, surprised. "I'm his lawyer. Mr. Mason and he have often done business together." On his way back to the West Indies, Mr. Mason stopped in Madeira and stayed with Mr. Eyre, who mentioned that his niece was going to marry a Mr. Rochester. Yes, I wrote to tell him I was getting married. Well, when Mr. Mason explained that Mr. Rochester was already married, your uncle sent him straight back to England to prevent you from marrying and making a terrible mistake. I'm afraid your uncle is very ill and will probably die soon, so I think you had better stay in England until you receive further news of him. After the gentleman had left, I entered my room and locked the door. Slowly, I took off my wedding dress and veil. I was weak and exhausted, and only just beginning to realize what had happened. Could I ever again trust the being I had turned into a sort of god? I would not think of him as evil, but he could not have felt real love for me. How foolish I had been to believe him and love him so much. My hopes were all dead, and my future was empty. I lay on my bed, faint and wishing for death, while darkness swam around me.
To be continued. Good luck.